If you keep looking at me like that, Mr. Whitmore, your date is going to think I am the one you came here to choose. Noah Bennett meant it as a joke. Mostly. Across the candlelit table, Caleb Whitmore did not laugh. That was the first problem. The second problem was Madeline Brooks, the elegant woman sitting beside him, who had just asked Caleb the easiest question Noah had prepared all week. What are you looking for in a wife? Madeline repeated with a patient smile. Noah silently begged the universe for cooperation. This was supposed to be simple. Madeline was intelligent, warm, successful, and according to Noah's compatibility system, almost absurdly perfect for Caleb. Caleb only needed to answer like a normal human being for 30 seconds. Instead, his gray eyes moved past Madeline and settled directly on Noah. Someone honest, Caleb said. Noah lowered his water glass. Fine. Normal answer. Progress. Someone who tells me when I am being unreasonable. Noah stopped breathing for half a second. Madeline smiled. That sounds healthy. Caleb continued. Someone who refuses to let me skip lunch because apparently coffee is not a meal. Noah stared at him. That was not healthy. That was Tuesday. Someone who reorganizes my schedule without permission and then explains why I should be grateful. Noah slowly placed his glass on the table before he dropped it. For the record, he said, your schedule was a disaster. Caleb's mouth shifted into the faintest smile. Exactly. Madeline looked between them. Noah felt every professional instinct in his body begin waving tiny red flags. You two know each other well, she said. We work together, Noah replied quickly. Caleb said, for 22 days. Noah turned toward him. Why do you know that? You asked me the same thing yesterday. I asked how long this matchmaking process had been ruining my sleep. 22 days. That was rhetorical. Caleb looked back at Madeline, perfectly calm, as if he had not just made the evening considerably more complicated. Noah opened his notebook and pretended to write something. In reality, he wrote one sentence. Stop being weird. Unfortunately, he was not sure whether. The note was for Caleb or himself. 3 weeks earlier, Noah had walked into Whitmore Capital believing he had accepted the most lucrative assignment of his career. $300,000. 90 days. One impossible client. Evelyn Whitmore had explained the situation with the calm efficiency of someone ordering flowers for a board meeting. Her son needed a long-term partner, preferably a wife, preferably someone suitable for the Whitmore family. Noah had expected arrogance. He had expected a demanding alpha with a list of impossible requirements and no patience for anyone earning less than 7 figures. Instead, Caleb Whitmore had entered the conference room carrying black coffee, wearing a dark charcoal suit, and looking mildly offended by the existence of matchmaking as a profession. Noah had smiled brightly and opened his questionnaire. Good morning, Mr. Whitmore. I have 64 questions. Caleb looked at the packet, then at Noah. No. Noah blinked. That is not technically one of the available answers. It is mine. Noah leaned back in his chair. Excellent. I can already tell this relationship is going to be deeply rewarding. Caleb raised one eyebrow. Relationship? Noah smiled. Professional relationship. Try not to panic. For the first time, something almost amused appeared in Caleb's expression. Noah noticed it immediately. He noticed everything about his clients. That was his job. What he did not notice was that Caleb had already started noticing him back. By the end of Noah's first hour with Caleb, the 64-question interview had become less of a consultation and more of an endurance test. Preferred age range? Noah asked. Adult. Noah stared at him. Helpful. You asked. I asked for a range. Caleb took a slow sip of black coffee. Reasonable. Noah wrote difficult in the margin, then immediately crossed it out when Caleb glanced toward the page. Do you always read upside down? Noah asked. Only when someone is taking notes about me. These are confidential. You wrote difficult. Noah covered the paper with one hand. Allegedly. Caleb's expression shifted again, that almost smile appearing for barely a second, before disappearing. Noah hated how satisfying it was to cause it. He moved on. What matters most to you in a partner? Caleb looked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Boston. Honesty. Noah paused. That answer came faster than the others. Anything else? Independence. Good. Noah wrote it down. Kindness. Obviously. Humor. Caleb looked back at him. Depends. Noah leaned forward. On what? Whether they are actually funny. Noah pressed a hand to his chest. I feel personally attacked. That seems dramatic. You have known me for 40 minutes. You have not earned the right to diagnose me yet. That time Caleb definitely smiled. Small, restrained, but real. Noah looked down at the questionnaire before his own face could react in a way that required explanation. Over the next week, he turned Caleb's answers into a carefully organized profile and selected 3 candidates. The first was Allison Reed, a 31-year-old attorney from Beacon Hill who spoke fluent French, served on 2 nonprofit boards, and had the calm confidence Noah thought Caleb would appreciate. Their dinner lasted 34 minutes. Caleb texted Noah afterward. No. Noah replied before common sense could intervene. That is not feedback. Caleb answered, it is concise. Candidate 2 was Lauren Pierce, an alpha architect who loved hiking, hated celebrity gossip, and had once designed an award-winning public library. Noah was certain Caleb would at least respect her. 48 minutes later, another message arrived. No. Noah called him immediately. You cannot reject people using 1 syllable. I just did. What was wrong with her? Nothing. Noah stopped pacing in his kitchen. Nothing. She was intelligent. Interesting. Polite. Then why are you rejecting her? Caleb was silent for a moment. I did not want another dinner. Noah pinched the bridge of his nose. You understand that wanting a second dinner is generally how dating progresses? I understand the concept. I am starting to question that. Candidate 3 made it through dessert. Noah considered sending himself flowers. Her name was Rebecca Sloan, a 30-year-old medical researcher. With dry humor and absolutely no interest in Caleb's money. She should have been perfect. Yet when Noah met Caleb at the office the next morning, the rejection was waiting before he even sat down. No. Noah dropped his leather portfolio onto the table. I am going to need more words. Caleb glanced at him. Good morning. Not those words. Coffee. Caleb pushed a paper cup across the table. Noah stopped. It was his usual order. Medium roast, 2 pumps of vanilla, no sugar. How do you know my coffee order? You buy the same thing every morning. Noah looked at the cup, then at Caleb. You noticed? Caleb opened his laptop. You are here every morning. Noah sat slowly. This meant nothing. Clients notice things. Very observant, difficult, unreasonable clients notice things. He took a sip. Perfect. Fine, Noah said. But coffee does not excuse 3 failed matches. Caleb looked at him over the screen. I did not ask for an excuse. You are enjoying this. A little. Noah pointed at him. One day, Mr. Whitmore, I am going to find someone you cannot reject. Caleb's gaze stayed on Noah for a beat longer than necessary. Maybe you already have. Noah spent the next 2 days telling himself that Caleb's last comment meant absolutely nothing. Maybe you already have. It was vague. Harmless. Probably about one of the rejected candidates. Probably. Unfortunately, Noah's brain had taken those 4 words, polished them, framed them, and hung them directly above every rational thought he possessed. So he did what any emotionally stable professional would do. He worked harder. By Wednesday evening, he was still in Caleb's office reviewing new profiles while rain streaked across the windows high above Boston. Candidate 4, Noah said, sliding a folder across the conference table. 28, financial analyst, volunteers at an animal rescue, excellent family references, and she claims to enjoy tax law for fun, which personally concerns me. Caleb barely glanced at the page. No. Noah stared. You did not even read it. I read it yesterday. Of course you did. Noah leaned back and rubbed his eyes. At this rate, I am going to start interviewing strangers. In grocery stores. Caleb looked up from his laptop. That seems inefficient. Thank you, consultant. Noah reached for his coffee and paused. Something felt wrong. Not dramatic. Just warm. Too warm. He loosened his collar slightly and checked the time. His scent blocker should have lasted another 6 hours. Instead, a faint sweetness had begun slipping past it, subtle at first, then unmistakable. Noah went completely still. Caleb stopped typing. The office suddenly felt far too quiet. Noah reached for his messenger bag with hands that were annoyingly less steady than usual. I need to go. Caleb remained seated. Are you all right? Perfectly. Noah found the small case where he kept an emergency blocker and opened it. Empty. He stared at the case. Wonderful. Noah. Caleb's voice was softer now. Noah looked up. Caleb's expression had changed, not with alarm, but recognition. Of course he knew. An alpha would know. Noah's stomach tightened. He had never disclosed his designation to clients unless necessary. His agency protected that information, and Noah preferred it that way. Too many people heard Omega and immediately replaced professional judgment with assumptions. Caleb stood. Noah instinctively stepped back. Caleb stopped immediately. Then he walked toward the windows instead, opened one several inches, and let cool rain-scented air enter the room. "Do you want me to leave?" he asked. Noah blinked. That was not the reaction he had prepared for. "You are asking me? It is your choice." Caleb moved to the far side of the conference table, deliberately putting more distance between them. "I can call a car. Or I can leave, and you can stay here until you feel comfortable." Noah stared at him. "You are being strangely normal about this." One eyebrow lifted. "Were you expecting me to become unreasonable? You have demonstrated talent in that area." Caleb almost smiled. Noah exhaled, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. Caleb quietly placed a sealed bottle of water at the far end of the table, then stepped away again. No questions, no assumptions, no change in tone. That somehow unsettled Noah more than anything else could have. "Why did you not tell me?" Caleb asked after a moment. Noah looked toward the ring. "Because I wanted you to decide whether I was good at my job before you decided what being an Omega meant." Caleb was silent. Then he said, "I decided you were good at your job on the second day." Noah glanced at him. "The second? The first day? I thought you were irritating." Noah laughed despite himself. "And now?" Caleb's gaze held his, calm and unreadable. "Now I know you can be both." Noah should have been offended. Instead, standing there in the cool air with rain whispering against the glass, he realized Caleb had just learned the one thing Noah had worked hardest to keep separate from his professional life, and somehow nothing between them had become smaller. If anything, the room felt different because Caleb had chosen not to move closer. The next morning, Noah arrived at Whitmore Capital determined to behave normally, which would have been easier if Caleb had not already placed Noah's usual coffee beside the conference table. Medium roast. 2 pumps of vanilla. No sugar. Noah stopped in the doorway. "You know this is becoming suspicious." Caleb looked up from his laptop. "Coffee. Remembering things. You complained when I ignored your questionnaire. That was different." "How?" Noah opened his mouth, found no useful answer, and sat down instead. The office felt exactly the same as it had before the scent blocker incident. That should have made him feel better. It did not. Caleb still kept a respectful distance, still spoke in the same calm voice, still treated Noah like a professional rather than a designation. Somehow that made Noah more aware of him, not less. Very inconvenient. "I have a theory," Noah announced. Caleb closed the document on his screen. "That sounds dangerous. Your problem is not the candidates. I have been saying that." "No, your problem is you." Caleb considered him. Less surprising. Noah slid a new folder onto the table. "You are terrible at dating. I have attended every dinner you scheduled. Physically, yes. Emotionally, you sit there like a very expensive courthouse." Caleb's mouth twitched. Noah pointed at him. "That. You do have expressions. We need evidence." "Evidence of what?" "That you can behave like a person on a date." Caleb leaned back. "And how do you plan to collect this evidence?" Noah immediately regretted the next sentence before he even said it. "Practice date." Silence. Caleb's eyes settled on him. Noah wished the conference table were about 10 feet longer. "Research," he added quickly. "Obviously." Caleb's tone was far too neutral. "Dinner tonight. I observe how you talk, what you ask, whether you accidentally terrify the waiter, and then I give you feedback. With you as the date. As the evaluator." Of course. At 7:30 that evening, they sat across from each other in a quiet Italian restaurant near Beacon Hill, and Noah discovered that research had terrible lighting. Warm lamps reflected against the windows. Soft music filled the room. Caleb had changed out of his business suit and into a dark navy jacket over an open-collar shirt. Noah noticed immediately, which was professionally annoying. He opened his notebook. Rule 1. Ask questions. Caleb looked at him. "What do you do when you are not arranging other people's lives?" Noah blinked. "Good. That was almost natural." "Answer it." "I cook badly, run occasionally, and watch documentaries I pretend are educational when they are mostly about wealthy people making terrible decisions." "Favorite place in Boston?" "The Public Garden early Sunday morning." Caleb nodded. "Because it is quiet." Noah lowered his pen. "How did you know that?" "You dislike crowds." "I never told you that." You always choose the chair farthest from the elevator. Noah stared at him. Caleb picked up his water as if noticing someone's habits were perfectly ordinary. Noah looked back at the notebook. Fine. Compliment practice. You need practice receiving them. That is not the assignment. Your time matches your eyes. Noah's pen stopped. He looked down at the green tie he had chosen without thinking. Too specific. You said sincere compliments are better. Less sincere. Caleb almost smiled. Noah cleared his throat. Eye contact. Caleb looked directly at him. Noah lasted 4 seconds before checking his notebook. Acceptable. You looked away. I was recording data. There is nothing written. Noah glanced at the blank page. Betrayed by stationery. The server arrived with their food, giving Noah several precious seconds to recover. When she left, Caleb pushed the small dish of olives away from his plate. Noah automatically moved it toward himself. Caleb watched the movement. You remember, I do not like those. Noah shrugged. Occupational hazard. You remember a lot. That is my job. Caleb's expression softened. So do I. Noah's heartbeat became unexpectedly noticeable. He reached for the menu even though they had already ordered. Caleb had not touched his once. You should at least pretend to study the menu on an actual date. Why? Because staring at someone for an entire dinner can be unsettling. Caleb's gaze stayed on him. I have not looked at the menu once. Noah swallowed. I noticed. Do you know why? Every clever answer Noah owned disappeared at once. Why? Caleb answered with quiet simplicity. Because I have been looking at you. Noah spent the rest of dinner pretending Caleb's last sentence had not rearranged the furniture inside his brain. Because I have been looking at you. Wonderful. Perfect. Completely professional. Noah responded the only way he knew how. He changed the subject so aggressively that even the waiter looked concerned. By the next morning, he had already built a new spreadsheet, reviewed 26 profiles, and convinced himself that the solution to emotional confusion was obviously better data. That was when he found Madeline Brooks, 30 years old, corporate attorney, graduate of Boston College Law School, board member for a literacy nonprofit, independent, funny, patient, and completely unimpressed by family money. Her compatibility score with Caleb was 97%. Noah stared at the number for several seconds. There you are, he whispered. Victory should have felt better. Instead, something small and unreasonable tightened beneath his ribs. He ignored it. At 10:15, he walked into Caleb's office and placed Madeline's profile on the desk with unnecessary confidence. I found her. Caleb glanced at the folder. Who? The woman who is going to save my professional reputation. I was unaware it needed saving. You rejected 4 excellent candidates and turned our practice dinner into psychological warfare. Caleb looked up. Psychological warfare? You know what you did. I complimented your tie. Noah pointed at him. Exactly. Caleb's almost smile appeared. Noah opened Madeline's folder before that smile could become another problem. She is 30, successful, kind, funny, financially independent, and she has absolutely no interest in your last name. She also hates crowded resorts, loves early mornings, and thinks black coffee tastes like burned regret. Caleb's eyebrow lifted. You approve of her. I might marry her myself if this continues. Caleb's expression changed so slightly Noah almost missed it. Almost. You cannot, Caleb said. Noah blinked. Excuse me. Professional ethics. Right. Obviously. Caleb looked down at the profile again. Scheduled dinner. Noah froze. That is it. You wanted me to cooperate. I did. So I am cooperating. Noah should have celebrated. Instead, he experienced the deeply inconvenient sensation of getting exactly what he wanted and immediately wanting to return it. The dinner took place Friday evening at a quiet restaurant in Back Bay. Noah sat at a table near the bar, officially available for logistical support and unofficially pretending not to watch. Madeline was even better in person. She made Caleb laugh within 12 minutes. Noah checked the time because apparently suffering required documentation. At 28 minutes, Caleb asked her a question without being prompted. Historic. At 45 minutes, they ordered dessert. Noah nearly sent his agency a resignation letter. This was success. Real success. 97% success. So why did every smile Caleb gave Madeline feel strangely personal? Noah looked down at his phone and opened the compatibility report again. The numbers had not changed. Caleb and Madeline made sense. Similar values. Similar goals. Similar social expectations. Clean, rational, efficient. Everything Noah believed matching should be. When dinner ended, Caleb walked Madeline outside while Noah waited near the entrance. A few minutes later, Caleb returned alone. Noah straightened. Well, Caleb slipped one hand into his coat pocket. She is impressive. Noah forced a bright smile. I know. Smart. I know. Funny. You laughed twice. Caleb studied him. You counted. I observe behavior. It is literally my job. You look unhappy. Noah laughed too quickly. I look victorious. Those are apparently very similar expressions. Noah ignored that. She agreed to a second date. Caleb's gaze stayed on him. And you want me to go? The question landed oddly. Noah stared at him. Of course I do. This is what we have been working toward. Caleb was silent for a beat. Then schedule it. Noah nodded. Tuesday. Fine. They stepped outside into the cool Boston night, city lights reflecting across the wet pavement. Caleb walked beside him, close enough to be familiar, but never close enough to crowd him. Noah told himself he should feel relieved. The impossible client had finally found someone he might choose. The problem was that somewhere between the vanilla coffee, the rain against the office windows, and one ridiculous practice date, Noah had stopped being sure he wanted Caleb to choose anyone at all. Tuesday arrived far too quickly. Noah had spent the weekend pretending he was not thinking about Caleb's second date with Madeline, which was difficult because his calendar had helpfully reminded him 3 times. By 5:30, Noah was still at the office, reorganizing files that had already been organized perfectly. His phone buzzed. Evelyn Whitmore. Noah answered immediately. Mrs. Whitmore, good evening. Her voice was calm, but unusually tense. Noah, the dinner is canceled. Noah stopped moving. Madeline canceled? Caleb did. A ridiculous spark of relief appeared before Noah could stop it. He crushed it immediately. Professional disappointment. That was all. Did he say why? No. But I think you deserve to know something before this goes any further. 20 minutes later, Noah stepped into Whitmore Capital and found the executive floor nearly empty. The lights were dimmer than usual, Boston glowing beyond the windows in scattered gold and white. Evelyn had asked him to meet her in the conference room, but voices reached him before he arrived. He recognized Caleb first. I told you I would handle it. Evelyn answered. You have 3 weeks before the trustee review. Noah slowed. Trustee review? He should have announced himself. Instead, he stood several feet from the partially open door, every professional instinct telling him to leave, while every human instinct ignored that advice. If you do not name a long-term partner, Evelyn continued, the terms of your grandfather's trust transfer temporary voting authority to your uncle. You knew that when you agreed to cooperate. Noah's stomach dropped. Caleb's reply was quiet. I agreed to cooperate with you. I never asked you to hire a matchmaker. Noah went completely still. The folder beneath his arm suddenly felt much heavier. Evelyn sighed. You could have ended Noah's contract on the first day. Silence followed. Noah heard his own heartbeat with irritating clarity. Then Caleb said, I know. So why did you keep him? Another pause. Longer this time. Noah should have walked away. He did not. Caleb's voice softened. Because I wanted him to stay. Noah forgot how to breathe. Evelyn said his name sharply, but Caleb continued. I tried the dinners. I met everyone he chose. I told myself one of them would make sense. Madeline does make sense. That is the problem. Noah's fingers tightened around the folder. Caleb spoke again. She makes perfect sense on paper. Noah makes sense when he walks into the room. The words landed with terrifying simplicity. Noah stepped backward, and the heel of his shoe caught the edge of the hallway rug. The folder slipped from his arm. Profiles scattered across the polished floor. The conference room went silent. Wonderful. If humiliation were an Olympic sport, Noah had just qualified nationally. Caleb appeared in the doorway. His expression changed when he saw him. Noah. Noah crouched to gather the papers. Please do not ask how much I heard. Caleb stepped forward, then stopped before getting too close. How much did you hear? Noah looked up. Apparently, we are ignoring requests now. Evelyn appeared behind Caleb, looking uncomfortable in a way Noah had never imagined possible. Noah stood, holding the papers against his chest. You never hired me. Caleb's jaw tightened slightly. No, you never wanted a wife. Not exactly. Noah laughed once. Not exactly is a fascinating phrase after I spent weeks interviewing people for you. Noah, I thought I was failing. Caleb's expression softened. You were not. I built compatibility models. I scheduled dinners. I found Madeline. I know. She is 97% compatible with you. Caleb looked directly at him. I do not want 97%. Noah's chest tightened. Then what do you want? Caleb did not look away. You. Every clever response Noah had ever used disappeared. He shook his head. You do not get to say that after letting me spend weeks finding someone else. I know. Do you? Noah asked quietly. Because I was doing my job, Caleb. I trusted the assignment. Caleb's voice remained calm. And I should have told you the truth. That answer stopped Noah more effectively than an excuse would have. No defense. No manipulation. Just responsibility. Noah looked down at the profiles in his arms. I need time. Caleb nodded immediately. Take it. Noah looked at him, almost suspicious. That is all. What else should I do? I do not know. Argue. Explain. Be irritating. Caleb's almost smile appeared, but it carried something sad beneath it. I can do all three later. Noah nearly smiled back. Nearly. Instead, he walked toward the elevators. The doors opened. Before stepping inside, he turned once. Caleb was still exactly where Noah had left him, making no attempt to follow. Somehow that hurt more than pursuit would have, because it proved the one thing Noah was beginning to understand about him. Caleb wanted him, but he was still going to let Noah choose. Noah spent the next 2 days discovering that being given space was somehow more distracting than being pursued. Caleb did not call. He did not send flowers. He did not appear outside Noah's office looking devastatingly sincere in a tailored coat, which Noah considered both respectful and deeply inconvenient. There was one message waiting on his phone. Wednesday morning. Take whatever time you need. That was it. Noah read it 6 times, then became annoyed at himself for reading it 6 times. By Thursday afternoon, he had reorganized 3 client files, cleaned his apartment kitchen, and created a list titled Reasons Caleb Whitmore is a Terrible Idea. The list contained practical concerns, family pressure, complicated professional boundaries, ridiculous wealth, emotional unavailability. Underneath those, after several minutes of staring at the screen, Noah added another line. Remembers my coffee. He deleted it immediately, then added it back. Friday evening, Evelyn Whitmore called. There is a family foundation gala tomorrow night, she said. Noah leaned against his kitchen counter. If this is another matchmaking event, I am developing a sudden medical allergy to formal wear. Evelyn actually laughed, softly. No. The trustee review is approaching, and several family members expect Caleb to make an announcement. Noah's stomach tightened. About Madeline? That is what they assume. And what does Caleb assume? A pause. You should ask him. Noah closed his eyes. That answer feels suspiciously strategic. I raised Caleb. I learned strategy early. Noah should have declined. Instead, at 7:45 Saturday evening, he stood beneath the chandeliers of the Whitmore Foundation ballroom, wearing a black tuxedo and wondering how many terrible personal decisions could technically be classified as professional networking. The room was filled with donors, executives, family friends, and enough old Boston money to make Noah instinctively check whether his shoes were polished. Madeline was already there. She wore an elegant dark green gown and looked completely relaxed for someone half the room expected to become part of the Whitmore family. When she noticed Noah, she walked over. You look nervous. Noah smiled. I am a matchmaker at a family gala where my client secretly does not want the woman everyone thinks he is going to choose. This is my natural state. Madeline laughed. For what it is worth, I figured it out at dinner. Noah blinked. Figured what out? Caleb. She took a sip of sparkling water. He asked me excellent questions. He listened. He was perfectly polite. But every time you moved across the room, he knew where you were. Noah stared at her. That is not a thing. It was definitely a thing. You had a 97% compatibility score. I am devastated to learn romance has defeated mathematics. Noah gave her a flat look. Madeline smiled. Relax. I like him. I do not want to marry him. Before Noah could answer, the room shifted. Conversations softened. Caleb had arrived. Dark suit. Calm expression. Effortlessly composed. Then he saw Noah. He stopped for half a second. That half second somehow felt louder than the entire ballroom. Noah hated that his chest reacted before his brain did. Caleb crossed the room, greeting people when necessary, but never losing track of where Noah stood. He stopped several feet away, careful as always. You came. Noah adjusted his cuff. Your mother is persuasive. That is one word for it. I have several others. Caleb's almost smile appeared. Before either of them could say more, Evelyn stepped onto the small stage near the center of the ballroom and tapped the microphone. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Noah's stomach sank. Guests began turning toward Caleb and Madeline. Someone near Noah whispered that this must be the announcement. Madeline quietly moved one step away from Caleb. Noah noticed. Caleb noticed too. Evelyn continued, speaking about the foundation, the family legacy, and the approaching trustee review. Then her gaze settled on her son. Caleb, I believe there is something everyone has been waiting to hear. The room fell silent. Noah looked toward the nearest exit. Caleb looked at him. Then, instead of walking toward Madeline, he started walking across the ballroom toward Noah. Every step Caleb took toward Noah seemed to make the ballroom quieter. Noah stayed exactly where he was, partly because moving would look suspicious and partly because his legs had apparently decided this was no longer their responsibility. Caleb stopped in front of him, leaving the same respectful distance he always did. Noah glanced past him toward Madeline, then toward Evelyn, then back at Caleb. You are walking in the wrong direction, Noah said quietly. Caleb's expression remained calm. No, everyone thinks you are about to announce something with Madeline. They are wrong. That is going to be inconvenient for them. They will recover. Noah nearly laughed, which felt inappropriate considering several dozen people were openly watching them. Evelyn stepped down from the stage, her expression carefully controlled. Caleb, he turned slightly. Mother, think carefully about what you are doing. Noah's chest tightened. Caleb did not raise his voice. He did not need to. I have been thinking about it for weeks. Evelyn looked toward Noah. This arrangement began because the family needed stability. Noah hated how quickly that word made him feel like a complication. Caleb noticed. Of course he noticed. His gaze returned to Noah before he answered. Noah was hired to help me choose someone. Evelyn's mouth tightened. And did he? Caleb looked directly at Noah. Yes. The room seemed to lose sound. Noah swallowed. Caleb continued. He found someone honest, independent, stubborn enough to tell me when I am wrong. A few guests shifted. Someone near the back whispered. Noah wished the floor would become temporarily more interesting than his face. Caleb's almost smile appeared. Someone who remembers I hate olives, tells me coffee is not lunch, and reorganizes my schedule because apparently I cannot be trusted with my own calendar. Noah stared at him. That was one time. It was 4. This is not the moment to fact-check me. A quiet ripple of laughter moved through the room. Even Madeline covered a smile. Caleb's expression softened, but he still did not move closer. I spent weeks meeting people Noah thought would be right for me. They were smart, kind, impressive. He paused. None of them were him. Noah's heartbeat became annoyingly loud. Evelyn folded her hands in front of her. And what exactly are you asking of him? That mattered. Noah realized it immediately. The question changed the room from a declaration into something far more dangerous. A choice. Caleb looked at him. Nothing tonight. Noah blinked. Nothing. You asked for time. Caleb's voice was quiet enough that the crowd had to listen. I meant it. Noah had prepared himself for pressure. For a grand public request, he would have to answer while surrounded by strangers. Caleb was doing the opposite. He had made his own choice public without demanding Noah make his. Somehow that hit harder. Then why do this? Noah asked. Caleb glanced around the ballroom. Because everyone here has spent months discussing my future as if I was not in the room. His eyes returned to Noah. I wanted one thing to be clear. I am not choosing Madeline because it is convenient. I am not choosing anyone because a trust document says I should. He paused. The person I want is you. What you do with that information is yours. Noah looked down for a second, overwhelmed by the simplicity of it. No alpha command. No family bargain. No obligation. Just truth, placed carefully between them. Madeline stepped forward from the crowd. For the record, I fully support this development. Noah looked at her. You are enjoying this far too much. I survived 2 dates for this ending. Caleb actually laughed. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly, as if accepting that the evening had escaped every plan she had made for it. Noah looked back at Caleb. You understand this does not solve the trustee problem. I know. Your family could make things difficult. Probably. And you are still doing this. Caleb answered without hesitation. Yes. Noah stared at him for a long moment. Then he exhaled. You really are terrible at following the assignment. Caleb's almost smile returned. You said that on the first day. I was right on the first day. You often are. Noah felt his own smile appear before he could stop it. He still did not give Caleb an answer. Caleb did not ask for one. And somehow, standing there under 100 curious eyes, that was the moment Noah began to believe Caleb might actually deserve one. Noah waited until the gala was almost over before finding Caleb alone near a quiet window at the edge of the ballroom. Boston glittered below them, the Charles River reflecting scattered lights while the noise of the party softened behind closed glass doors. Caleb turned when Noah approached, but he did not step closer. Of course he did not. You disappeared, Caleb said. I was thinking. Dangerous habit. Noah gave him a look. You are stealing my material now. I learned from a professional. That almost smile appeared, and Noah hated how familiar it had become. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Noah looked out at the city instead. What happens if I say no? The smile vanished from Caleb's face, replaced by something quieter. Then you say no. Noah glanced at him. That is all. That is all. You would not try to change my mind. Caleb considered the question. I would probably want to. Noah folded his arms. Very reassuring. You asked what I would do, not what I would feel. Caleb's voice stayed calm. I would respect your answer. I would make sure your contract is paid in full. If you wanted me out of your life afterward, I would stay out of it. Noah studied him carefully. No performance. No grand speech. No alpha certainty presented as destiny. Just an answer. And the trust. Noah asked. I will deal with it. How? Lawyers. Trustees. Probably several meetings that should have been emails. Noah laughed despite himself. Caleb continued. It was never your responsibility. Something inside Noah finally loosened. For weeks, he had been measuring Caleb against profiles, percentages, family expectations, and every tidy category he had built his career around. None of those things explained the man standing in front of him now. Caleb remembered his coffee. He noticed when Noah skipped lunch. He knew Noah disliked crowded elevators. He opened a window instead of moving closer when Noah felt vulnerable. He waited when Noah asked for time. And tonight, with every reason to demand certainty, he had asked for nothing. Noah looked down at his hands. There is another problem. Caleb became noticeably more alert. What? Noah let the silence stretch for 2 seconds. Maybe 3. My agency has a policy against dating active clients. Caleb stared at him. Noah finally smiled. Fortunately, I removed myself from your account this afternoon. Caleb's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. You did? Yes. Before the gala? At 4:23. You remember the exact time? Noah lifted an eyebrow. You remembered 22 days. For once, Caleb had no immediate answer. Noah enjoyed that far too much. So, Caleb said eventually, what does that mean? Noah stepped a little closer, closing part of the careful distance Caleb had maintained between them. It means you are no longer my client. Caleb's eyes stayed on him. And if you still want to take me to dinner when nobody is evaluating your performance, you can ask. Caleb did not hesitate. Dinner Tuesday at 7:30? Noah blinked. You had that prepared. For 22 days. Noah laughed, fully this time. That is either romantic or deeply concerning. Tuesday. Caleb extended his hand, stopping halfway between them. Noah looked at it, then placed his own hand in Caleb's. The gesture was simple, warm, chosen. 3 months later, Noah sat across from Caleb at a small restaurant near the public garden, reviewing a menu even though Caleb had already ordered Noah's usual coffee before he arrived. A small dish of olives sat between them. Caleb quietly moved it toward Noah's side. Noah looked at him. You still remember. Caleb raised one eyebrow. I told you. I noticed things. Noah smiled and reached for his hand across the table. For once, there was no compatibility score, no deadline, no family expectation, and no assignment waiting to be completed. Noah had spent years believing the perfect match was something you calculated. Caleb had taught him the one variable no system could measure. Choice.